Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Why Are You an Entrepreneur? The Trials and Triumphs. I'm Maureen Edwards. I'm the founder of 8 Simple Steps. And for those of you tuning in like you normally do every single week, or if you're watching the replay, this is all about bringing you rock star entrepreneurs so that we can sit down and have a rock star conversation where they bring you their best practices, their trials, their triumphs, some inspiration, and definitely some words of wisdom. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you know that it's lonely out there and you know that it's really hard. So tonight's no exception. I have Vickie Harding-Wakeen. She is the CEO and the founder of MyVirtualGal. And Vickie, I want to welcome you. We tried this a couple weeks ago. We had a little bit of a tech snafu, and now you are back. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Maureen. It's so great to be here. I'm glad you invited me back.
Absolutely. Well, I was so disappointed. Technology's messy. I mean, like entrepreneurship is messy, right? So, tech has to go with it, and it just didn't work out. But I really wanted people to hear your story. And the question I always start out with is, why, Vickie, are you an entrepreneur? Like, why did you take this on, the hardest thing you could do? Can you share with people how you got here?
Well, being a woman of a certain age, I have to say it never occurred to me in my younger years that I might want to be an entrepreneur. So I just, did the corporate thing, and I went with the flow, what most people do. But to make a long story short, when I was around 50, I was working for a small startup company. And after a couple of years, I was the right-hand person to the CEO and founder of the company. After a couple of years, my husband and I were getting very itchy to leave Massachusetts and to go to sunnier places like Florida. So the company I worked for was showing signs that it was not achieving its funding. And I said, you know what, this might be my time to prepare myself. Things are looking a little shaky. Maybe we need to sell our house and move. And so we decided to jump both feet in it together, and we moved to Florida. And at that point, that was when COVID hit. And I said, what am I going to do now? I don't even want to go on interviews in person. It might not be safe. So I did actually interview a couple of times, but I just started to feel, you know what, this isn't right. My heart felt like it wasn't right. And I started to scour my brain. What could I do for a living? And I said, why don't I do what I know, but do it for myself? And so that's when the entrepreneurship idea popped into my head.
Well, it's interesting because everybody kind of gets here in somewhat
that's
of a
it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I find entrepreneurship, either people are so excited to take control of their destiny, or sometimes it takes control of them and falls into their lap. And it's like, you know what? I'm presenting myself here. So you said something important here. You decided to do what you know, but do it for yourself. So what's been the hardest thing going from a corporate job, we call it the real job, to now being your own boss?
There's several things. I think the hardest one is learning that I'm always going to be uncomfortable and being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I also think it's very challenging, the isolation that you tend to feel when you work for yourself and most of the time by yourself. So that's a challenge. And the fact that as a business owner, you can't just do your work and then go to sleep. It's pretty much 24/7. You're thinking all the time of how can I improve my processes? What is it I need to learn next? So I am always learning new skills. A client might come to me and ask me if I use such and such, and I'll say no, but I'm willing to learn. So there's a lot of self-education behind the scenes.
What have you found to be the most exciting part of owning your own company?
I think the freedom, I'm sure you've heard that a lot from the people that you've
Yeah.
interviewed. The
Yeah.
freedom, yeah, and the ability to discern what is most important at any given time and to set your priorities for your day and for your work. That to me is the most gratifying. I think also the feedback that you get when you're working for yourself, your reputation is so important. And when you receive positive feedback from a client, it's just so edifying. And that really keeps me going. It keeps my motivation up.
And I guess that was my question, that, it is lonely. This is very like you're in sweatpants in your basement type of job. It how do you take care of that loneliness? Do you have a community that you are involved in? Do you
Yeah,
link up with other entrepreneurs? How would you recommend people who are experiencing it? Because I think we all experience it.
right. And I think a little bit of tedium can set in as well. If you're always in your home or your small office doing the same thing day after day, it can get very tedious and not really good for your mental health. So I do a variety of things. I have one networking group that I meet with in person, a couple of others that I have pretty consistently on virtual meetings.
Yeah.
And I also take breaks. We happen to live in a community where we have a dog park down the street, and I have a dog. So pretty much consistently every day, I'll take him out for an hour and consider that my lunch break and just forget about working and just mingle with neighbors. So there's all kinds of different ways to keep your motivation up. And even, occasionally working in a coffee shop or going somewhere else when you can be online that way. So.
And one of my guests last week said the same thing, and I thought it was really brilliant. She's like, sometimes I'll just get out where real people are
Mhm.
and sit at a coffee shop and get my internet going. And I kind of never thought like that, but she got me
Right.
thinking. And now you're saying the same thing, that just being
Yeah.
out there with people.
It boosts my mood an awful lot because sometimes I have unexpected conversations that make me laugh, or I'll say, wow, that's a great future contact or a potential lead. Doesn't always happen, but it's really nice when it does.
So tell me what you do when things don't necessarily go right.
Well, my dirty little secret is that I like to take a nap.
Oh, love, love, love. I knew that we were kindred spirits,
Oh,
because you know what? Going and taking a nap is like the best way to clear your head. Something
yes,
about it, isn't it? And it's like you get up and your mind is cleared. So, everybody out
exactly.
there, that is like a gem in itself. Go take a nap.
I thought maybe I was the only one, but
Nope.
especially if I'm irritated or if I'm feeling defeated, then I just say, I can't work this way. It's unproductive. I'll set my timer on my phone, shut out the lights and the blinds, and just take a 45-minute nap.
I think that's great. I think that's great advice. And it's probably
Mhm.
one most people would not admit to.
I'm very
Seriously.
transparent.
So am I. That's why I was right there with you. I'm like, you know what? I'm
Yeah.
gonna take a step back. So, all right. So I would like for you to share what you actually started here. What is the business that you created?
My business is called MyVirtualGal. And I don't know why I thought of that as the title. Of course, when you're thinking of a business name, you have to Google it, make sure that nobody else has that name. And you go to register it. And sure enough, it was available. And I got the website. Sometimes I wonder if it's a detriment because when you are on social media, so I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook. LinkedIn is always very professional, but on some of the social media platforms, just the word gal or my virtual gal can attract unscrupulous people that you
Yes.
want to just block. But with that said, I still plan to keep my business name. And I think it signifies when someone is really stuck and they just say, man, I wish that I had a right-hand person. I need somebody fast. I know, I'll call my right-hand gal. One of my girlfriends thought, oh, it's a little bit sexist, isn't it? And I said, no, because I call my friends gals. I'll say, see you later, gals.
Yep.
I happen to be a gal. You could have been my virtual guy. So just to have someone in your back pocket that you can rely on and say, hey, do you know how to do such and such? I need something from my social media, or I need to write an email. Can you read this over and tell me if it sounds okay?
So you're providing virtual assistant support across a variety of different mediums. So I like MyVirtualGal. I just want to tell you, and I'm a name branding, person who's had to create names for dozens of products, and it's hard. Coming up with a business name is hard. I think you did a really good job.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Sounds great.
And thank you for clarifying. Yes, I am a virtual assistant, which can encompass all types of services, administrative help. It could be social media, planning and scheduling. It could be writing, editing, and proofreading, which happens to be one of my strong points. So I really do market myself as that.
Okay.
So it's a variety.
So what's the most surprising thing about entrepreneurship? Something you didn't expect?
Well, believe it or not, I did expect that I would always be learning, but I didn't expect the extent to which I'd be learning. I'm not complaining because I actually thrive on learning new things. So I have to say, if you are thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, ask yourself, are you the kind of person who gets a lot of energy from learning new things? Because if it drains you all the time, you might want to reassess who you really want to be your own boss.
It's really good advice, Vickie, because it never ends. It is all on the person who's running the business. You can even hire a team all around you, and it still is, you never
Right.
master it. You just
Right.
never master entrepreneurship. You just can't. No matter how many businesses I build, I will never master it. There's just too much all the time. So I think
Yeah.
that's really good advice. What's the one thing that you have loved most though about this? I know you said flexibility and you can, be your own boss, but is there something when you wake up in the morning you go, I totally have made the right decision?
Yeah, for me, it's the creativity. There was a period of time when, as I said, when COVID hit and I was reassessing what I wanted to do, I actually thought I had learned how to do something called surface pattern designing. And I thought to myself, maybe I should go back to what I wanted to do as a child. I wanted to be an artist. Is it too late? Here I am. I've lived at least half my life already. Is it too late to become an artist? Well, I ultimately decided, basically because I wanted to jump in and get rolling really quickly, that I needed to use the skills I already had. But how could I bring more creativity into that? So I get a lot of enjoyment from a lot of the business tools that I get to use every day. Obviously, things like Adobe Illustrator, which I was doing surface pattern designing in, I can use that to create logos. I can create all kinds of business assets using Illustrator, pamphlets, brochures. There's also Canva, which is very popular nowadays among,
Love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is probably my favorite tool because it's just like playing. I feel like a child again.
Doesn't it feel like paper dolls? Remember when we were little? When I get on Canva, I get so overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing. But at the same time, I think it can be overwhelming with all the
Yes.
different tools. I could get lost in it. And I just want to say, my good friend Stacy has put in, I love the business and have made a note of MyVirtualGal as a resource. Stacy is actually my entrepreneur of the month for November.
Oh, yes.
She is amazing. She launched her business a little while ago. So thanks for being here tonight, Stacy. And yes, MyVirtualGal is a great resource, and I really like the name too. We've been talking about that. So for somebody who has said, you know what, I think that I want to do something different, I want to do entrepreneurship, what would be something that you would say to them, which should be the first thing you should do before you decide to jump and do it?
Yeah, I thought about this actually before our call. I jumped right in not having a job at all. And I would recommend, if at all possible, to either make sure that you have a reserve of funds to get your business started. Perhaps if you have a full-time 9 to 5 right now, keeping the 9 to 5 and then starting slowly part-time as a virtual assistant. And once you've acquired maybe 3 to 5 clients, see how that's going and decide, do I want to jump ship and jump into this boat? That's really what I would recommend if you're looking for financial security. It was really rather bumpy the first year and more scary than it needed to be, I think. The other thing is, I would say patience. Always being patient with yourself and believing that you will grow, because it will happen. It's an everyday job. And surrounding yourself with other entrepreneurs and other people who think like you. People that they're not naysayers, they're encouragers. They think what you're doing is exciting. Those are the kind of people you want to spend time with.
That's great advice. And you know, we've heard that a lot. One of the best recommendations that I feel anybody can come on here and say is keep your day job.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Keep your day job. Work off somebody else's money while you're honing your craft. Right. You're getting it. You're making the mistakes. You're getting out all the kinks. You are looking at what works for you and what doesn't. And all at the same time, you don't have that pressure on you of, I got to get a client. I got to get a client. You can take your time. And so some of the best advice that I hear from people, and I give it out myself, is I don't like the word hustle. I don't like that side hustle type thing. I call it an exit plan. Create your exit plan, your exit future, whatever you want to call it, and work towards there. But keep your day job, because it can take a little bit of time to get up and running.
Yes. And I'm sure everyone has also heard about a new business really doesn't get fully off the ground it takes about 5 years. So you have to say, well, I haven't hit my sweet spot yet. I'm still growing. As I said, I started right after COVID. So I'm still in growth mode, and don't look left, don't look right, just keep going.
Just keep moving forward. So tell me, you talked about creativity. So I would love to hear from you. What are some of the marketing campaigns you're doing to generate leads and generate reach out there for your business? Are there things out there you're using that could be helpful for others?
Yeah, I can't honestly say that I have marketing campaigns for myself.
Okay.
I've never been trained in marketing as a skill. However, much of what I do is helping people with their marketing.
Right.
So for myself, in all honesty, I fall at the end of the list. If I'm doing it all day and helping somebody during the day, when it comes time to like posting on social media for myself or creating the video, that's the bane of my existence. I'm not an extrovert, I'm an introvert. So marketing for myself is very difficult. But what I do is just talk to people, just keeping in touch through email, through phone calls, through the networking groups that I attend. By word of mouth, that's how all the clients I found have come to me. My very first client happened to be my former boss. So that's a great way. If you leave an employment and left on good terms, then hopefully when you're gone, they'll miss you.
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So you're really into more of the referral type of marketing.
Yes.
But you're doing a lot of marketing for other people. So have you found certain marketing social media platforms in particular, one working better than others for some of your clients?
Well, for my business, I think the best is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
When you're a professional service, um, being out there, posting consistently,
Mhm.
um, whether you're commenting on other people's posts or whether you're creating content yourself. One thing that I do is I blog for my website. So my blog is up twice a month, and then I will then repeat that by
Yeah.
putting it up on LinkedIn, hoping to find people interested in that particular topic. Um, what else?
I love LinkedIn. I think it's one
Mhm.
of the most underused platforms out there. We think of Facebook, everybody wants to be on Facebook, and I'm like, not everybody should be on Facebook, but everybody's a consumer, right? Both
Right.
business and, general consumer on LinkedIn. So somebody needs what you have, and your business is perfect for it.
Yeah. And I also, I've a couple of things. Joining organizations that somehow coincide with what you provide is a great idea. So, for instance, I decided I really enjoy helping creative people, creative entrepreneurs. So, I joined an organization, a paid membership, where all of the members are creatives. I'm there
Hmm.
not as a creative, but I'm there to just be in their conversation. And whenever they have roundtable meetings, I can interject little tidbits of knowledge from a virtual assistant's perspective. And at the same time, they might say, aha, I think I need a virtual assistant. So it could be companies like fabric designers or quilters, instructors, coaches. So when you join organizations that support the clients that you'd like to get, you can be a part of their conversation.
I love this. And you were like the first person to bring this up, Vickie, because this is something people don't think about. Like, you are in their inner circle and you're not fighting for their clients. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not why you're there, but what a great way to actually network. And you were very specific. You really honed in on the people you can help too.
Mhm.
So that was like a very niched audience with what you do. I think that is
Yeah.
fabulous advice. And I'm actually now starting to think about, where can I interject myself?
Yeah.
I'm now going to go back and go, all right, I just learned the greatest thing today.
Do some
Where can I
online
go?
searches. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Stacy's like so smart. It's so true, Stacy. I think you and I, we're going to have to sit down and go, all right, where can we go? Where can we go? So tell people out there something about yourself, besides the fact that you will take a nap if you get stressed and you need to decompress, right? We're both
right.
right there with each other. But what is it, something about you, Vickie, that somebody would never expect?
Hmm. Well, I consider myself an introvert, and yet at the same time, I also have come to realize that I take risks and that I'm not afraid to take risks. So it's interesting. I always thought an extrovert takes risks and an introvert is too shy to take risks, and that's not the case at all. So as you
Mm-mm.
can see, I started my business. That was a risk. I had no job, and I said, I don't want to work for someone else. I'm doing it by myself. To me, that was a risk. My husband thought it was a risk for sure. He also is self-employed, but so he understood. He understood my need to do this. Um, I like to have fun, maybe in unconventional ways, and not so unconventional. For instance, I have not skydived, but I've done something very exciting, which comes very close when you go in one of those air tubes, or what do you call it? It's like a simulator for skydiving.
Oh, no, thank you.
So that's kind of something interesting. I speak French. That's a little bit interesting as well. I went to college for French language and literature.
Nice. But you said you were a risk taker. Well, anybody who's going into that little funnel thing, whatever, that right there is definitely not, it doesn't matter whether it's extrovert or introvert. You're an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs take calculated risks.
Right.
So you cannot, if you're going to call yourself an entrepreneur, you've got to call yourself a risk taker.
True.
They just go hand in hand.
And I also think in my small way, I did not bounce around the country when I was being raised. I was born and raised in Massachusetts, and I lived there for a good close to 60 years. I needed a change. I needed a mindset change. I needed a new environment. And that's when my husband and I both agreed that it was time to move to Florida. Just cut the ties. Obviously, we still have family who we love and we can visit, but just moving to a new culture. I mean, it is basically a new culture, going from Massachusetts to the South.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So sometimes you just need that and you have to take the leap.
And you took a risk. So you did a lot of risk taking in like just a short period of time. Right. That can just like hit you hard.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell everybody out there, Vickie, how they could get a hold of you if they would like to hire MyVirtualGal.
Sure. I have a website, MyVirtualGal.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, MyVirtualGal, or by my name. I do have a Facebook and Instagram profile. I don't post very often there. And I also forgot to mention another group that I've joined is Alignable, which is sort of like a LinkedIn, but different. So you can find me on Alignable.
Okay. I'm part of Alignable too, and I get a million like emails about it, and I've always ignored it. And I'm wondering, should I reinvestigate Alignable? Have you found it to be helpful?
Yeah, I really have. I belong to 2 or 3 groups, the free groups. Then I also belong to a paid membership, which is more about building business relationships. And it's a community of people from all across the United States.
Wow. Okay. Then that's something that I think I'm going to take a step back and investigate, because I get people who are connecting with me and, you just got a recommendation. I just ignore all of it, Vickie, because there's so many social media platforms. I'm like, whatever. But now that you've mentioned it, I'm thinking, could that be an area to jump out of that a lot of people may not be using? And that's where I'm looking at it from. Everybody's kind of on LinkedIn, but Alignable may give me, or in you, a little bit of an edge that other people may not be using. So I think I may reinvestigate.
Yeah. And as you know, in small business, it's all about the relationships that you build, especially if you're not providing a service that no one else provides. I mean, certainly there are many virtual assistants out there, especially during the last few years. So it really is about who you know and the know, like, and trust factor.
And that's where I'm going to ask you your last question here. What makes Vickie and MyVirtualGal different than other virtual assistants out there?
I have decided if I had to set myself apart, I would say it's rather minute, but I'm finding it's very important to my clients. I learned fairly recently, because I'm in a group of virtual assistants around the country. I learned that the other VAs provide their clients with an email every week that tells them how much time they have in the bank. So for instance, many virtual assistants will charge upfront, and then as the client uses the services, they are deducted from your voucher. We'll call it a voucher. What I've learned recently is that the other VAs that I know do not give them an actual tangible PDF that shows, I did this for you on this day and it took this much time. I'm all about transparency. So I feel it adds to the trustworthiness if a client can say, oh, okay, she's not just charging me 5 hours. She actually did this, this, and this during these 5 hours.
I love it.
That little bit it kind of is my little edge.
I love that. I think that the transparency is critical in any business. And so I love the fact that you even explained how the process works for people who don't understand. And I think that's a great way of separating yourself. Well, Vickie, I hope you're going to be able to come back and let us know what's happening in 2024. I'm so glad that we were able to revisit the conversation after our tech snafu. So I'm so glad. It's been great getting to know you even more. And for everybody out there who's tuned in tonight, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Stacy, for being here. And if you haven't gotten the news yet, it is in my newsletter. You can sign up at 8simplesteps.net, but I did make the announcement that this show will be going to a once a month format. No more 4 times a month. That means there's only 12 available interview slots for 2024. So if you are an entrepreneur, I know you have a story to tell, and I have an audience who wants to hear it, because when it's all about entrepreneurship, it's about helping each other. And just like you heard from Vickie, she dropped some amazing best practices and some really nice keywords of wisdom for you to follow. And that's the whole idea. Please reach out. I'd love to have you as a guest. I'd like to hear your story. And if you find yourself doing a lot of marketing and you even have a strong online presence, but you're still not converting customers, let's have a conversation. I'd love to look at the opportunities you have in there, identify your gaps, and let's come up with a roadmap to get you back on track, getting more customers and building a sustainable business. Everybody, we will be back next week, and I will have another rock star for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Vickie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Maureen.
You're welcome.